Take two.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farm. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with, and this is a reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
Okay, family, and we're back. Let me know if you're still experiencing any buffering, any distortion of the sound or the picture. I am working to get our illustrious guests back in the lobby. My apologies. I'm not really sure what's going on and why things are moving so slow. I have reported it to StreamYard. Hopefully we can get through the show this second half and not have all these challenges. So stand by, family. Let me get him this link. And then we can dig in until he is able to get back. Let's see here. Stand by, family. I want to see if it's, I'm going to shut down where it's feeding from my Wi-Fi in the house, in the back of the house. Hold on. Okay. I think it was because my flat screen in my boudoir was pulling the energy. So I think that's what was happening and why we were experiencing all of those challenges, family. I can't thank you enough for holding on for me, hanging in there for me. Shout out to Erie Blackfire. Thank you for joining the live. Margaret McCall. Thank you for joining the live. Joseph Prevo. Thank you for joining the live, family. I appreciate you being here. As I was sharing about on the prior feed that was messing up, I think due to there being too much pull from too many devices in my home. You know how it is, family. I've got the max, but what does that mean? It is imperative that we show up this election cycle in Obama-style numbers. And I want to make the case of today with Mr. Avery Valentine as to why you can feel comfortable and confident in actually voting Democratic down ballot. Anyone but Biden-Harris at the top of that ticket, because we must weaponize our vote this election cycle and socialize our suffering, or else, as per usual, ADOS will be the only ones suffering, family. So it is imperative that we create a new normal in this country where we are fully prepared to weaponize our vote every election cycle. We need that to happen as recurring as the lesser of two evil, two-step shuffle to George Floyd 846. That's all we've got is our vote. Okay. Oh, thank you, Robert O, for coming back on the live. And he said it's smooth as silk. I found the source, Robert. Yeah, the flat screen in my boudoir, taking up, I guess, too much going on, too much energy being pulled on the Wi-Fi in the home. Because that was the first time I ever experienced that. So that's not a StreamYard thing. But like I was saying, family, the definition of insanity is to continue to do the same thing while expecting different results. There is no way, if lesser of two evils strategy was working for the ADOS, that we would be tethered at the bottom as the anchor of this country, as the legs of the table everyone else eats from. That wouldn't be happening to ADOS if that strategy was working. We've been doing lesser to evil since Franklin D. Roosevelt, FDR, 36. He got 71% of the black vote, I do believe. Don't quote me. All I know is that we made a switch from the Republican Party to the Democrats. And all they're doing is sitting up here building whole platforms for people who aren't ADOS. They are pivoting to the Republican Party, okay, and the immigrants. That is who they are pivoting to, and they're looking to replace us. They are weaponizing immigration against us. Go look at the archives. I am not just talking out the side of my neck. If nothing, Yvette Carnell has taught me over at Breaking Brown is to be about that data. So I use the Color of Wealth, LA, Boston, and Miami to make the case. I've also done archives on Biden's Lift Every Voice but ADOS African American plan. I've done it also for Trump's non-platinum plan for Blacks. That $500 billion is not cash in your pocket, and it's for infrastructure in our communities, which we no longer have community. We've been gentrified. And that opportunity zone nonsense, that has nothing to do with us and everything to do with our gentrification, being gentrified out of our own communities. Both parties are giving us nothing burgers while talking about all they're going to do in the first 1 to 100 days for all the other groups. So I was in the midst of shouting out Marlon Aldridge, who wrote a beautiful commercial for Tamara Johnson-Shealy. She is running for the U.S. Senate seat down in Georgia. And so I need you guys to vote, share that beautiful video over at Equity Advocates PAC. Shout out to all of the donors, the contributors to the Friends of ADOS PAC, which has been renamed to Equity Advocates PAC. I thank you so much. Your contributions helped to pay for that beautiful commercial that Marlon Aldridge, CEO of Equity Advocates, was able to get produced. Please share it in all the social media spaces. We don't have enough aggregated dollars to make it a national or even all over Georgia kind of commercial without the help of everyone being a part of the movement and pushing it in their social media spaces. Also, Tamara needs about $700 more to keep her ads running in Georgia. Please donate directly to her at tamaraforgeorgia.com. Take care of her. You can always give to the Equity Advocates PAC at equityadvpac.com. Visit us at Facebook. Okay, we have our own page. Show your love and spread the word. Thank you, Satra Del Rey, for coming back. I appreciate you guys for returning to the show. So we must support the PAC. We will forever be on the menu if we don't do as the other groups who are getting specifics done for them this in the first 1 to 100 days. If we don't put our money where our politics are, we're going to forever be begging for reparations instead of having a Congress that's full chested about our reparations. Equity Advocates PAC. Yes, without the T, my love. PAC. It's a super PAC. And what we're doing is working to aggregate all of our dollars, our coffee money, our little snack money, whatever you can spare, because I do get that we're a wealthless group, but 10% of us are earning at least 125,000 or greater. So those are the ones that we need giving the big dollars to get our voices in that Congress. You know how loud AOC speaks up for her people? We need the Tamara Johnson Sheelys, like 200 strong in Congress. And the only way to do that is to aggregate our dollars to ensure we get ADOS for ADOS who are full chested about reparations in that Congress. It's not going to pass with the current Congress because all they want to do is to take taxpayer dollars to study our repair into perpetuity. What's up, Robin Felix? Thank you for joining the live at work, but definitely listening. Thank you, my love, for always supporting the show. Each and every one of you, even those of you who have not put your name in the chat, I thank you for supporting the show. I have delayed my guests for a long time, and we still have to get to our a Miseducation of ADOS in America book club read. You guys know I do story time after my guest. So without further delay, let me bring him up so that he can get on with his evening. He's calling from the South with some great, I don't know how great it is, but it is news that we can choose to use in order to feel confident weaponizing our vote this election cycle. Introducing Mr. Avery Valentine. Stand by. There he is. Thank you so much for your patience. I didn't realize that my flat screen in the back of the house was causing an energy drain to my internet.
Okay,
And
it's
so
okay.
once I handled that, the audience is saying they can hear and see us clearly. So I want you to please introduce yourself and your organization and your politics to our lovely, astute audience.
Well, I'm Avery Valentine from BN4C, Black Network for Change. It's an organization I started in 2016, the summer of 2016, because I just feel like that's what we need to do. We need to network together to make change in our community. Only we can really do that with each other. And got into ADOS from watching Tone Talks, and then me, Don, Greg, Vaughn, Darja, we started NCADOS with Dr. Darity. We had a meeting with Dr. Darity. After that, I basically got Dr. Darity in the public hearing. That was me, NCADOS on Twitter, Facebook, and all that. Yes, I got Dr. Darity on the public hearing. That's basically my political background. I'm kind of new to this. Yeah.
I mean, we all are. We've all been educated in the new black media on social media because we realize that the Clinton News Network, CNN, are a bunch of liars and they're not dealing with politics in the way that we do from a black perspective, from an ADOS perspective, more specifically. So don't fret. Ladies and gentlemen, show your love. This is Avery's first time going live. So I told him there was no need to be nervous, that you guys are some of the most loving ADOS in the country. And you're very informed and looking for more information all the time to stay on your square. So, Avery, just relax. And I want you to share with my audience what we discussed. I know you've got some graphs. What's up, Daryl Presley? Thank you for joining the live. I know you've got some graphs to show, but it's hard to show and tell because I don't know how to share my screen. But if you could talk, you could put it up, and then you promise us a PDF that I can share in the end for the audience to have for their notes. So with that said, share with us about the Black vote in the South and why we weren't responsible for electing Obama. We weren't responsible for electing Trump. We won't be responsible, although we'll be blamed for our protest vote for electing Trump this election cycle. Could you please share how that's impossible?
All right. We're going to go to, can you see 2008?
Yes.
Can you see it? You see 2008?
Yes.
I want everybody to see that clear. Do you understand where the South at? The Black Belt South. Let's look at that. Keep that in your mind. 2008.
All that red.
Keep this in
55%
your mind.
of votes are in the South? How much on the
I
West
want to know
Coast?
how we elect Obama. How did we elect Obama when the majority of the black vote doesn't count in the presidential election because of the electoral college? Every year, 2012. Okay, let's go back. Let me go. 2008. Only Virginia, North Carolina, and Florida, the only states that counted for the Democrats in 2008. In 2012, only Virginia and Florida counted. But we elected Obama, though, right? Okay, in 2016, only Virginia was the only blue state in the South. I don't know how to do this. Can you see
The
that?
other, go the other direction. Shift the paper. We don't see 2016.
It's 2012. Oh, I'm tripping.
It's on the, it's on your left side. All right. Turn. Okay, there. Come back into the frame. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's 2016.
Mm-hmm. But check out
Not a
the
lot of
Southwest.
blue.
Check out the Southwest. Let's check out the Southwest. Anybody can pull this up. This is the Electoral College maps. Anybody can pull this up every year. But check out the Southwest since 2000 until 2022. To 2020. The DNC been working on the Southwest since 2000 because they want to get Arizona, Nevada, and West Texas and Utah. They want to flip in Colorado and New Mexico. They want to flip those states, and they won't need black votes. Period. Because in the presidential election, after the primary, our vote won't count. I don't care if all the black people in the South vote. Your vote's not going to count. And that's more than 55% of the black population. If that vote doesn't count, how can you blame or say we did or didn't elect anybody? You can't. I really want to know, how can you say that? And on the state level, okay, where are you at in this map? You see, can you see that good?
Yeah, I see a lot of blue.
In the South, right? That's black
Yeah.
people. You over here in the blue, on California. Where you at in California? You in that red, right?
Yeah.
And which one? The top or the bottom?
I'm in
The red in the bottom?
California. I'm in Southern Cal, the bottom.
Yeah, so that's you at the bottom, right? Any black
Yeah.
person you know is in one of these red or blue parts on this map. Any black person you know. The majority of us is where?
In the
That's
South.
our voting. That's what we voted. That's how people voted in 2018. So how can we elect a president? Now, hold on. Remember, that's 2018.
Oh
This is
my God.
2018. And North Carolina has a Democratic governor, but our state went Trump in 16.
Margaret McCall says, yes, I have said this for years. Black voters
Okay.
effect the primary but are ineffective during the general election.
Yes,
Wow.
ma'am. Okay, you know how they say Florida, black people are 15% of Florida. We got children. So if we 15% of Florida, like 8%, 8 to 9% of the people actually voting or voting age to vote. So you telling me 10% of that population can turn Florida blue? North Carolina is 22% black. So you know we got children, we got people under the age of vote. So 11% of their whole state population can turn the state blue. I just I'm not saying I'm right, I'm not saying I'm wrong. I'm just asking a question. It's all in the
I
South.
mean, But we're forever being blamed when the Democrats lose.
How can we? How can they blame? That's where all our population is, in the South.
Well, this would stand to reason why they're not offering anything in exchange
There's
for
no
our
reason
vote.
to. There's no reason to. They gotta offer to. They gotta talk DACA, immigration, talk about Mexicans and all that stuff because they've got to win Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada. They want to win the election, and they maybe Florida. They got the election because Ohio, might they think Trump gonna get that. And most years, if you go back, you can look over the last 20 years, we're gonna do the Midwest because everybody want to talk the Midwest, right? How the Midwest changed. We're gonna see how much it really don't change. It changed when Obama got elected, though. You see that blue? When
Yeah,
Obama got elected, it changed. But 2016, what happened? The
red.
same white people, the same white people that voted for Obama voted for Trump. Simple. The same black people vote the same way every year. Every year. Every 4 years, the same black people gonna vote Democrat. So if your state really flipped, did you really flip it though? I want to know. And in the primary, everybody always say Mexicans replacing us, immigrants replacing us, our vote. It can't happen in the primary because the South will all that's the only power we got in the primary. That's why they pushing Joe Biden so strong because he won the primary in South Carolina. You know, and that's why when he won South Carolina, everybody knew right then he was going to be the next Democratic nominee. That's how I go for. He got
Wow.
Obama elected. Auburn got Obama elected. He about to get Joe Biden elected. You could go back. He even got Bill. He even supported Bill Clinton.
Who, Clyburn?
Yeah, he even supported Bill Clinton. South Carolina short voted for him, but South Carolina ain't never been blue. South Carolina never been blue. Never. And you can go back further than this. You can go back further as you can. You say Mississippi, Mississippi. I'm gonna leave the states with the most black people. Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, Maryland, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, and Virginia. Only Virginia, the only state that really flipped blue in the last 20 years. But we decide elections though. You can't fool me like that. I'm sorry. You just can't tell me anything I'm supposed to believe in. There's no way possible. When the majority of our vote doesn't count, this year is not going to count. You're going to see, like right now, you pull up the electoral college, they little map with how they think the election going to turn out. The whole South is red. The whole
So,
South red.
the Electoral College is not going to choose Biden?
No, I don't know. I don't know. Because you know with the electoral college vote, it's winner take all each state. That's why I say for us, we trapped in the South. It's more white people than black people down here. Even though we where the majority of black people live, but it's still more white people than us. So when white
What's
people, the silent majority, that's why Trump always say silent majority. That's what he's talking about. He's signaling to white people, unaffiliated, in a silent majority. That's what silent majority means. They're gonna come out in numbers for to make sure the South stay red. That's how it is. You look at the minimum wage, look at the wealth, look at the housing, look at healthcare. Any problem that black, just look at the South. That's all you gotta do. Look at the black belt. That's all you gotta do.
So, Avery, what's the solution?
We gotta get a president candidate in the primary. That's what we gotta do. We gotta get in the primary in 2022. We gotta replace them. We gotta replace these black Congress members. We can't force them to do nothing. We gotta replace them because there's no way they're gonna do anything for us. If they comfortable and they're gonna get reelected anyway. The South has over 26 different representatives in the South. We have the majority of the representatives in the Black Caucus. But they never talk about any of this. They never talk about a gerrymandering. They never talk about the race. It's the same from back in the 60s, and if it's the same down here. We just got technology, really. None of these black elected officials talk about any of this. I wonder why. Because they know they're comfortable. They're going to get reelected regardless. Because the black church in the South is the most powerful thing. If you a black man or a black woman that go to church or got a church behind you, you're going to win elections because you got a whole church that's going to go out there and convince other people to vote, stroll to the polls, souls to the polls, all these different little organizations, the little college organizations, fraternities, and all of them going to come together with the church crowd to make sure someone gets elected. And they got people lined up. So when Clyburn retired, he's trying to get his daughter in there. So
His
2022,
daughter?
yes. Yes, he's trying to get it. So in 2022, the only chance we really got is get Clyburn and his whole family out of politics. Straight up. Because they're going to sell us down the river every time.
I mean, can't we do something with the voters to educate them, or the boomers are just stuck on blue no matter who,
In the
lesser two
South, they
evil?
stuck. Because you got to think about it. In the South, they know they can't vote red and they too scared to not vote blue. You know, in the South, it's like it's fear mongering. You know, that fear mongering really plays into people's psyche. They really believe it. Boomers really believe it. The church crowd really believe it. And that's where, if you don't got the church behind you in the South, anybody in the South in the chat or from around that been in the South, they know to get in politics in the South, you have to be part of the church. It's just that simple.
Margaret says the church has lulled, let me put it on the screen. The church has lulled the black vote back to sleep since 1966.
Yes, ma'am. I
Well,
can't disagree.
what we have been offering is a protest strategy that isn't new. I've shared on previous shows about how Teddy Roosevelt, after we elected him, after he won with the black vote, dishonorably discharged 167 Buffalo soldiers. He took away their pensions. He would not allow them to work government jobs, and he would not allow them to re-enlist. And that was because they were wrongfully accused of murdering a second white man after being quarantined to their barracks after being accused of murdering the first white man. So there was no way. What do you call that rule when you have to be in the house at a certain time? I can't think of it. Like a curfew.
That's what
Yeah.
I was about to say.
Yeah, they literally had to be quarantined to their barracks because of the first accusation. What's up, Monica? Thank you for joining the live, Monica Gibson, Mara Evans, all of you, NLM. Thank you guys for joining the live. Yeah, they were quarantined to the barracks because a white man had been murdered. They were wrongfully accused, so they quarantined them to the barracks. A second white man was murdered. They probably murdered the white men themselves in order to, get these Buffalo soldiers dishonorably discharged. And Dr. Charles Morris at the time said, "You shot us when our guns were empty. And in return, we're going to deliver a Republican Congress to protect the South and a Democratic top of the ticket. Since, you want to dishonorably charge our men after you've gotten our vote." And so a protest vote isn't new. Like, this is something he was trying to invoke back in the early 1900s because of what Teddy Roosevelt did to these Buffalo soldiers. So we're suggesting the same. And we need the newer energy, the woke boomers, the woke Gen Xers, and the woke millennials to join us, because we are a wealthless group, and the only weapon we've got is our vote. So we need to make sure we stack the Congress with the most Democratic down ballot that we have, the most progressive Democratic down ballot that we have, to protect over 42% of ADOS who rely on government assistance by design, of institutional systemic racism and let the Republicans have the top to break the back of the establishment. I don't know what else we can do. Avery? Uh-oh. You're frozen and muted. Can you hear me? Avery? You're speak for me, Avery.
Well,
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. You may actually have to sign off and come back in
and
because
we have
your sound is freezing
power
and you're
to replace all these black Congress
he's
people.
frozen. Hi, Astrid. Oh, thank you for joining the live. Avery, you're frozen. Can you hear me? Okay, if you can hear
We
me, I'm going
have
to
the
text
power
you.
to replace 22.
I'm going to log you off and call you, Avery, so you can finish over the speaker. You're frozen and your sound is choppy. Call me on my phone. I'm going to call you on the phone. Hold on, family. Let's get him on the lines. I want to be able to clearly hear him. He was imparting some information about the necessity to get rid of and unseat the current Black Congress, whom we all know is going to throw us under the bus every opportunity they get because they've got their butter biscuits. So let's get Avery on the line so we can push forward.
Huh?
Hi, Avery. For some reason, you froze and we couldn't really appreciate what you were trying to say. So could you back it up to where I left off about how Teddy Roosevelt dishonorably discharged 167 Buffalo soldiers who were wrongfully accused of murdering a second white man after being quarantined to their barracks? If you could, and then how Dr. Charles Morris, pastor of Abyssinian Church, was recommending the Blacks of the South do a protest vote to deliver a Republican Congress, which is the way we voted at that time, and a Democratic president at the top of the ticket. Could you pick up with your comments from there?
Yes, I can. Yes, I was saying that's where we really have our power is down ballot. Because since 1964, after the Voting Rights Act, in 1968, the South really flipped to vote against us. Like the white vote voted against, they got together to vote against the black vote. But at the same time, we started to elect a lot of black elected officials. So our power really is with the down ballot strategy, but we need to replace them in 2022. I don't feel like we need to keep electing them and keep praising them or keep backing them. We need to replace them in 2022, starting with Clyburn. That's my honest opinion.
And Sheila Jackson Lee needs to go too.
Yeah, it's going to be hard with Sheila Jackson Lee because HR 40 is her smoking gun. I know people on the ground, they have a little influence, but her first thing she's going to say is, I co-sponsor HR 40, and I got 150 plus co-sponsors on the bill. The Republicans stopping me from giving black people reparations. She's going to use that as cover. And the whole time, they know the bill is already dead, this Congress.
And that's why she's got so many signatures. And furthermore, that bill was only resuscitated when the ADOS movement started making demands for reparations to close the egregious racial wealth gap. Let me remind my audience, white folks share 100 trillion household dollars that was grown from the seed of an $11 trillion surplus post our ancestors' chattel slavery. As compared to 90% of Blacks, or less than that, I think we're around 86%, to Black immigrants, 14%. 90% of the majority of the Blacks in this country are ADOS, and we share less than 700 billion with the B dollars since COVID. And the only way to close this egregious racial wealth gap is reparations in the trillions over multi-generations. And this is the spirit in which the movement was birthed, which, Sheila Jackson Lee quickly moved after 30 years of this bill collecting dust. She quickly moved last summer to host hearings. Yes.
She didn't do any of that. She's the only black person on the subcommittee. That's the only reason she introduced that bill. She's the only black person on the subcommittee. She's been on there. When Conyers retired, she was the only person left. So when we want to do anything, we can get another black person on the subcommittee. The Constitution's, the subcommittee that has HR 40. That's the only reason she introduced the bill. To be totally honest, she don't care.
No, she don't care.
Be honest. We gotta be honest. She don't care. She introduced it because she's the only black face. And they know they was gonna kill the bill right after she introduced it, but we pressured them to have a public hearing, put pressure on them. But we gotta pressure the heads of the committees. We gotta leave Jackson Lee alone. She wrote that bill that way so she could take credit. She's not gonna edit it. She's not gonna fix it. Because they're gonna make it look like she don't know what she's doing. She's not gonna help us in no kind of way. We got to go over her head.
Yes.
And that's the co-hearing. That's the co-hearing and the Judiciary Committee. And then Nancy Pelosi. We got to go over their head. And Nancy Pelosi haven't even co-sponsored the bill yet.
Yeah. As she's sitting up here telling people to sign, it's just pandering.
Yeah, and it's the end of the 120, it's the end of the 116th Congress. It's the end of the Congress. If the bill get passed the House, it's not going to do nothing in the Senate, regardless. And we have to get all those co-sponsors over again. So,
well, in my zone, thank you for joining the live. Keisha Miller, thank you for joining the live. In my zone says she's not ADOS. No, she's of Jamaican descent. And that's another thing, how you know that the black immigrants are being weaponized against ADOS to keep us tethered to the bottom, because capitalism requires a bottom. And this country long ago decided we were it. Can Keisha Miller ask, is Karen Bass on the subcommittee? I don't think so.
No, man. Only black person on the subcommittee is Jackson Lee. And if the subcommittee stay the same next year, she's going to be the only black person on it. It's other black people in the Judiciary Committee. I think Karen Bass is in the Judiciary Committee, but I don't think she's in the subcommittee of Constitution, Civil Rights, and Civil Liberties that has HR 40. Joseph. And the subcommittee chairman, he can mark up the bill, amend the bill, and pass the bill forward to get voted on. We can pass the bill to the Judiciary Committee chairman, Jerry Miller. He could get the bill to Nancy Pelosi, and she's supposed to bring the bill on the floor for the bill to get voted. Jackson Lee did her job. That's why she's not worried about that, because she knows it goes power of command, and it's past her level now. What is the subcommittee chair going to do, and what is the Judiciary chair going to do, and what is the Speaker of the House going to do? And all of them are Democrats. All of them are old white people. So, we really got to point out the obvious of what's going on. Because talking about Jackson Lee is not going to hurt her. And it's not going to help us, At the end of the day, it's not. And next year, who's going to introduce the bill? In January 20th, who's going to introduce the bill? Because they're going to reintroduce the bill again.
Well, the bottom line is Joseph Prevost is right. That bill is a con and a theft. In that we don't want HR 40 to even survive. We don't want any more signatures on there as it stands. We've been pushing for edits in vain. Although, Avery, you and I discussed how, the assembly has been pushing over Sheila's head. But we need brand new legislation to push. But even greater than that, family, is that just like Avery said, we must vet and replace the current seated Black Congress people. They've been in there way too long. collecting their butter biscuits at the expense of the American descendants of slavery who are dying out here. We're dying from COVID. We're dying from the preschool to prison pipeline. We're dying by government sanctioned execution. So we really need to visit equityadvpac.com. That is what Friends of ADOS Super PAC has been renamed to, and use this time in the next 2 years to aggregate our dollars so that we can get commercials and mass media for the candidates that we handpick who are ADOS for ADOS repair in that Congress, akin to how we're pushing for Tamara Johnson Shealy at this time. Herb Saint, thank you for joining the live, says HR 40 has 6-figure salaries in it. It's a bureaucratic hustle. He is absolutely correct. He is absolutely correct. So we want to defeat that. And that's why she's been able to get so many signatures on there. She made her own edits in 2016. And she is the reason why they are jumping on that HR 40 is because there's nothing in it for ADOS. Yvette Carnell said it should have no paid representation. This should be a labor of love. Absolutely. Why should our tax dollars pay a commission to study reparations? They want $12 million to start with no timelines, family. So we've got to get that HR 40 killed and create something brand new. In the meantime, like I mentioned prior at the top of the show, we've got to push in all directions, family. Our very survival in this country depends on everyone being a part of this movement in any way that you can, whether associated on paper or not. There are ways for you to give. We want you to consider the protest vote. We've got to break the back of this and slow the hemorrhaging down for the ADOS. We cannot have a trifecta of the Democrats. They are going to weaponize 11 million more illegal immigrants, giving them a pathway to citizenship before paying us our reparations. And class-based policies don't fix race. And that's all they're intending to do while they're crying about how they have no money for reparations, but they bailed out the stock market and themselves during this pandemic. Under Obama, 1 million white millionaires were created during his 2-term tenure, while ADOS lost 43% of their wealth, which was primarily in their homes that they were going to bequeath to their children. So we are out of time, family. We must push on all sides. We must show up in Obama-style numbers, although Obama said only 60% of Blacks nationwide even showed up to vote. Well, I'm imploring upon us to get out there more like 90 to 100%. We need all hands on deck at that poll. But we don't need you doing lesser of two evil, two-step shuffle to our peril. We need you to vote anybody but Biden-Harris at the top of that ticket in the most progressive Democratic down ballot you can find. That's what we need. We need for you to support Tamara Johnson Shealy. She's running for U.S. Congress in the Senate. Marlon Aldridge put together a beautiful commercial that the contribution dollars paid for. Visit Equity Advocates PAC on the Facebook and see that commercial and share that commercial. Tamara Johnson Shealy needs $700 more to keep her ads alive until November 3rd. She has been on the ground. She's got a serious ground game going to collect the rural vote that the establishment has totally left behind. So she may even surprise some people with our help. We need all hands on deck. This is Debonair One on Twitter. Angela, thank you, sister. Okay. Thank you under the Herb Saint title for joining the live, Debonair One. We appreciate you and your support. Any closing words, Avery, before I let you go and get into the read so I don't detain the audience? I'm trying to get them out at least an hour and 15. I've got to go over prejudicial. Black America and the Presidents. We have a story time that you're welcome to listen to on the live, but I won't detain you. I do want you to give them any parting words, any closing words that you can add to give the audience something to think about and ponder.
Okay. It's great to go Democratic down ballot in 2020, but we have to replace them all in 2022. That's all I have to say. We have to really focus on getting the right people in office and running our own candidate. And we could do it with the numbers on the ground.
I thank you so much for that. You heard him, ladies and gentlemen. Avery Valentine, he will upload and give us a PDF for me to share after the show concludes. Thank you, Mr. Valentine, for joining the live. We so appreciate your time and the data that you imparted to us to make us wiser when it comes to ADOS and the vote.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And you make it a beautiful, God-inspired rest of your evening until we speak again, okay?
Okay, I'm about to tune in right now.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you. Good night.
All right. Good night.
Oh, family. Lord, today. All I can do is take a breath, family. It's story time, so I can pray y'all out. It's a lot, family. This is a lot, but you have to understand, we must do this for our babies and our babies' babies and our babies' babies' babies. We can't give in, we can't give up, and we cannot give out. The movement takes cat naps. Oh, thank you so much. Avery has joined the live. And we thank you, brother, for coming over and showing us the puckery. We so appreciate you. Show your love, family, in the chat. All right, family. Okay, so you guys know I read to you to help you understand how there has not been a president on your side to give you the fortitude to break the back of the establishment. This lesser two evil has to die out. It died for me last election cycle. I voted Jill Stein, Green Party, at the top of the ticket, and the most progressive Democrats I could find down ballot. Hi, Tyrone Polk Davis. Thank you for joining the live. And I intend to do the same this election cycle. I believe in the Green Party because they've got reparations on their platform, and they're willing to sit with the top brass in the ADOS movement to talk about making a home there with a bunch of edits to the reparations demand on their platform. It needs a lot of fixing, but they're willing and they're open to taking that meeting. Thank you, Astrid. She said she's going to be voting Green at the top and Democratic down ballot in Georgia. Family, we are out of time. We are at George Floyd 846. And John Prevost out of ADOS Pittsburgh was sharing, or was it Philly? I think it's Philly. He was sharing about another Black man being gunned down this close to the election cycle. And the Democrats have no real reform for us. They're not talking about dismantling private prisons. They're not talking about doing away with qualified immunity. Until those things go, in addition to that, Biden is talking about giving $30 million more to the race soldiers. Not me. So I'm saying let's definitely get to work this election cycle to make these last few days count. I know, thank you, Deborah Burrow, for joining the live. Easy Acts. For me, there are still a lot of undecideds. MSNBC did a report of some Black women in the South who are still undecided. They don't like either candidate, and neither do we. And so my thing is, family, we have to work like our hair is on fire to make these last few days count. And so you will hear me every show pushing for Democratic down ballot to reach those of us who are still undecided. We need to make this the new normal. The protest vote needs to happen until there's a total blackout, and that we lock it down between a Democratic Congress and a Republican top. Henceforth, I don't know what else to advise. I don't. And then after the election, we can't let up. We have to put our foot on the gas and gear up for 2022. We have to make it so that we, like Mr. Valentine said, make the primaries matter throughout this country. That is, and then of course the Congress seats that are coming up. We have got to be engaged. We can no longer afford to sit on the sidelines while our children are starved out. All the education and gig jobs on the planet is not going to close this egregious racial wealth gap. I am a unicorn amongst a small handful of us, but I have been where far too many ADOS are. I'm very transparent on this show about the racism that goes on down in the job market down here. There was a time when you could lose a position and get one the next day. Those days are done. So our children are just eating all of this debt and are relegated to driving Uber in many instances. Yes, we do have a few unicorns, but by and large, there is no affirmative action in place to guarantee our numbers. That affirmative action that was intended to make us whole benefited the boomers who are now collecting their pensions, and they own their homes at this stage of their lives. But I don't know where the fight left after Martin Luther King was executed, annihilated because he was coming for that check. I don't know where the fight went, where the economic fight went. Thank you for the civil rights movement to give us access to the same toilets and restaurants, but it's for naught if we can't even afford to live. And how the Democrats are pivoting to guarantee that everybody else is made American and has a pathway to citizenship before making us whole. Well, let me tell you something about the ADOS movement. We're here like a steady, silent drum beat. I mean, we aren't stopping because the elections are over. We are full press court until that check is cut in the trillions over multi-generations. And we have some of the brightest and the most educated professionals in this fight alongside me. I'm grateful to be amongst all of you. It doesn't matter your pedigree to me. If you're in this fight and you're slinging bricks from wherever you are, I thank you. My daughter thanks you. And my grandchildren who have yet to be born, thank you. So with that said, family, let's get into more Prejudential by Margaret Kimberly, Black America and the Presidents. Get your libations, relax, and let me dig in. Tonight is Dwight D. Eisenhower, 1953 to 1961. Dwight Eisenhower does not have a reputation as a, quote, good for Black people, close quote, president. It is just as well when the designation is generally based on myth-making and wishful thinking. Me speaking, I will be commenting in between. Y'all know how I do. I might have to take a few breaths. I don't like this stuff running into my psyche, before I have to present it to you. So I'm reading it for the first time with you. Okay. I love to read. Just get comfy. It is true that he completed the desegregation of the armed forces that Truman began. He also desegregated public facilities and schools within the District of Columbia. In typical fashion, Black people effusively praised Eisenhower for carrying out what were small changes in policy. Who does this sound like? Obama, right? Folks still praising him. Folks still want to jump all over me for saying things against Obama as if I can afford to be a racist. See, this is when people don't understand the difference between racist and being prejudiced. Until you can have wealth to oppress others, you can't be a racist. And I'm going to expose anyone that harms us, even if you look like us. I am always going to keep it a buck over here. I don't care. I know about these Black white supremacists in office. I don't care who it offends. The truth shall set you free. In 1954, Congressman Adam Clayton Powell proclaimed that Eisenhower, quote, has done more to eliminate discrimination and to restore the Negro to the status of first-class citizenship than any president since Abraham Lincoln, close quote. Me speaking. Abraham Lincoln did not emancipate us without being pressured by 500 slaves who fled from their plantations to the Union camps to insist on our emancipation. And these bootlicks with their butter biscuits want you to believe that these white folks have come in and saved the day. The same pressure that was applied by our ancestors to get our freedom is the same pressure we must apply to get our reparations in the trillions over multi-generations. We have the wind of the ancestors at our back. All hands on deck. And teach your children. So there won't be this huge chasm between the Gen X and the millennials and the Gen Zs. My daughter is learning. She might be back there on that phone running her mouth. But when she hears me, it's in her subconscious because some of the questions she's asking me at 16 and some of the information she is imparting to her crew will blow your hair back. We, unlike our parents, must teach our children about ADOS, their blackness in this country that their ancestors built with their lives. We must do it and not allow the bottom to fall out, akin to the boomers who got their goodies and got comfortable and want you to continue to do the lesser of two evil two-step shuffle to your own peril. We must teach our children to be revolutionary by weaponizing their vote and socializing their suffering. Yes, there will be casualties. I'm not going to pretend to you that there won't be. We just won't be the only ones. I know I sound like a broken record, but until we move as a block, we will spiral out of control until we are all living in shanties. That is what both parties have in store for the ADOS. Capitalism needs a bottom. They decided long ago when they brought us over here as chattel slaves that we were it. And immigrants are as bad as our oppressors, allies being the only exception. Too few to count. You don't hear a lot of allies, hello Joyanne Reed, in these immigrants, hello Joyanne Reed, hello Roland Martin. You even got ADOS fighting Ice Cube, who's in this fight with the ADOS movement for tangibles this election cycle after Diddy and T.I. and Charlamagne the Devil sat up here and said to withhold the vote until you get some tangibles, are now talking about the boogeyman named Trump. Not a one of them can tell me what Trump has done other than to be mean and a racist, as compared to what? Joe Biden, who is the author of the 94 crime bill, responsible due in large part to Clinton's 3 strikes, which has close to 1 million black men on lockdown in the new slavery called private prison industrial complex. I am more afraid of our extinction than I am Trump. And black folks should feel ashamed of themselves to have the Democrats sell you on using the only commodity you've got, your vote, to unseat a president that we did not elect, as Mr. Avery Valentine just so eloquently shared with us. Back to the text. The hyperbolic statement was born of decades of Black fear and of the need to hope. Who's that sound like? Obama. That the party in power at any given moment would do no harm. A tiny bit of progress is then inflated, and even open racists can be praised, like a Joe Biden. Look at this author, putting it all together for us, family. Pick up this book. Pick up this book and have your children read it with you. They literally handpicked Biden. There was no primary. Bernie Sanders was beating him 3 states straight. He got to South Carolina, Clyburn. That bootlick put them to sleep. They sleptwalked to the polls to vote for Biden. They forced Kamala the Chameleon, Cali's top cop, down our throats. She was 4th and could not raise money in her own presidential race. That bears repeating. A tiny bit of progress is inflated, and even open racists can be praised. Put it in the chat. Name me one thing Kamala the Chameleon has done that has been to the advantage of ADOS. I'll wait. Welcome to the live, Tyrone Polk Davis, in my zone. Tanya Princess, oh, my sister from another mister. Back to the text. Eisenhower was president during the landmark Brown v. Board of Education Supreme Court decision, which ended segregation in public education facilities. Me speaking. What difference does it make when now we've got public schools that will take from Black schools and put the money into white schools? I've already shared with you guys about how I had to go to a school board meeting to blast the superintendent because the only place I could afford to purchase property was 4 miles from the best junior high school in the district. But I've got a hood school in the back of me. This is where I could afford to buy property in a slightly marginal neighborhood after my daughter was educated in a white cul-de-sac with the best of education, K through 5. They kicked her and all her Black buddies back into the jungle. We had an open-ended number of school of choice when she started kindergarten. By the time she finished 5th grade, they gave us 3. And we all gunned for the top 3 in the white communities because that is the caliber of education our children had grown accustomed to. These schools, the white public schools, are so pristine down here in Long Beach Unified that white folks pull their children out of private school education. So you want to break my daughter's spirit to get your API scores up by pushing her back into the hood because that's where my dollars could afford to purchase. While taking the dollars from the Black public schools and channeling it to the white schools. Instead of the white folks paying for private school education. And then kick all the Black and brown over there for the preschool to prison pipeline that you've got set up for them. Because their communities have been distressed and distraught. So I don't know that integration was a good thing when it comes to the miseducation of the ADOS in America with 3 Ks. That's the name of my book club series. It was a watershed moment that influenced not only education, but also all public institutions. Yeah, we know. And now they set up the Black and brown schools with my property tax dollars to give them a preschool to prison pipeline. Jim Crow was on the way out. No, Jim Crow was taking on another new name called the military industrial complex and the prison and private prison industrial complex. Slavery has just morphed into these new ideals. It's not left. Black people were not going to turn back, but white people were not going to give up easily either. It meant that the new Civil War had begun in earnest. The day after the decision was announced on May 17, 1954, Eisenhower gave these tepid words of support, quote, "The Supreme Court has spoken, and I am sworn to uphold the constitutional processes in this country, and I will obey," close quote. The Eisenhower Justice Department reacted with panic when the court asked for submission of the customary brief in the case. Deputy Attorney General William P. Rogers responded with something akin to annoyance, quote, "Jesus, do we really have to file a brief? Aren't we better off staying out of it?" Even the 5 justices who ruled in Brown's favor were afraid of the political repercussions. The court had procrastinated for 2 years before taking the case. William O. Douglas's notes from a December 1952 conference show the depth of anxiety about doing what was obviously right, both legally and morally. According to Douglas, Justice Hugo Black worried that, quote, "there may be violence," close quote, if they ruled in favor of Brown. Isn't that how they're trying to scare us now? The Democrats gearing up, getting the troops ready to come into the states because of all this race wars that they're promising if Biden and Harris win. All scare tactics. The court had procrastinated. Okay, William O. Douglas's notes from there may be violence if they ruled in favor of Brown. I'm catching up, family. Sorry, lost my place. Felix Frankfurter and Robert Jackson saw that possibility, quote, with great alarm, and thought that the court should not decide the question if it was possible to avoid it, close quote. Chief Justice Fred Vinson was more concerned with the serious practical problems in desegregating Southern schools. Precisely because of these fears, the justices kicked the can down the road and didn't rule on how or when Brown would be implemented. Brown 2, which determined implementation of the original decision, was under deliberation when the court reconvened in October 1954. The NAACP brief insisted that segregation be ended immediately with a definitive time limit for complete integration of the schools. Eisenhower made a now hidden change to the brief that is described as having, quote, toned down the Justice Department's rhetoric that might shame the South. A page and a half left, family. The Supreme Court case and resulting activism led Eisenhower to do what no other president had done. He hired a Black person to fill an executive position in his administration. On July 10, 1955, the White House announced, quote, Everett Frederick Morrow, a Negro, has been named to a top job in President Eisenhower's executive office, close quote. Morrow had covered the Eisenhower 1952 campaign for CBS. He was one of the few working Black journalists at the time. Eisenhower's chief of staff, Sherman Adams, had urged Morrow to leave CBS in preparation for the appointment. But when he resigned, there was no position for him. He waited more than 2 years before he was appointed administrative officer for special projects. Morrow had been educated at Baldwin College and Rutgers University Law School. But when he arrived at the White House, even secretaries refused to work for him. When he was officially sworn into office more than 3 years later, Eisenhower did not attend the ceremony. The puckery is real, y'all. That was me speaking. Morrow wrote in his journal, quote, "The White House is a little embarrassed about me," close quote. He was reduced to ceremonial window dressing. Eisenhower again faced having to intervene in school desegregation in 1957 when 9 Black students integrated Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas. The images of National Guard troops escorting the 9 children into school has become iconic, but they shouldn't be used to give Eisenhower undue credit. Eisenhower only sent the troops because Governor Orville Faubus, who had promised to admit the Black students, then refused to do so. Martin Luther King had called the president wishy-washy on the issue of integration, but then sent him a congratulatory telegram when federal action admitted the students. Family, we really can't blame the ancestors. They did the best they could. They really did. This had to have been tough. I don't want to disparage their choices. I'm just saying we have to make a new choice and break the back of the government, break the back of the establishment. Both parties are working for the oligarchs and the corporatists. They are not the People's Party. And we must do something very revolutionary with the vote if we ever expect this to change. Eisenhower supported the segregationist obstructions that were euphemistically referred to as states' rights on issues such as the Montgomery bus boycott. His administration said nothing about the murder of 14-year-old Emmett Till or other lynch law killings, nor anything in support of desegregation efforts at schools and universities. He didn't want to deal with civil rights issues or with Black people unless he was compelled to do so by circumstance. Is that not the case of what's happening right now here in 2020? In private, Eisenhower condemned the Brown v. Board of Education ruling, telling a friend, quote, "No single event has so disturbed the domestic scene in many years as did the Supreme Court's decision of 1954, close quote. He opposed desegregation of the military and saw nothing wrong with Black and white university students being separated by some kind of railing. He told future Supreme Court Justice Earl Warren that white Southerners were not bad people. All they are concerned about is to see that their sweet little girls are not required to sit in school alongside some big overgrown Negroes." Eisenhower's one act of common sense is what historians constantly tout as a moment of greatness, and it has granted him credit for far more than he deserves. He was clearly a segregationist and was forced to do the little that he accomplished for Black people. Biden is clearly a segregationist and will have to be forced into anything that gets accomplished for Black ADOS if he is elected, which I pray he is not. Anywho, family, we're at an hour, 14 minutes. I don't want to make this video super uber long, but y'all know I love to read your comments. I'm going to try to get through some of these comments quickly because I love sharing and seeing what you guys have in terms of your comments or questions. So let me get going through it. I tried to do just a little while our guest was live. So let me see where we are with the comments. I'm just going to cherry pick, okay? The DNC is trying to set up ADOS as the reason for Biden-Harris loss. Biden-Harris win, not include us in their win, and we must refuse to be blamed for their loss. You know what? We might as well get comfortable being blamed, family, because they're going to blame us. And so our energy needs to be poured into this work of supporting the Equity for Equity Advocates PAC and supporting Tamara Johnson-Shealy, TamaraForGeorgia.com, and vetting candidates all throughout this country, especially the South, to unseat the current Congress people. We need to pull together with our own. This is the way it gets done because, as we can see, the current CBC doesn't work for the ADOS. Marlon Aldridge often says that they've got a lot of legislation that has passed the House, or they've got a lot of bills that they can't get passed in the Senate. And this is why we need to deliver a Democratic Congress this election cycle henceforth until they cut our check in the trillions over multi-generations. As long as we got Republican Senate and a Democratic House, it will never get done. So we must do our part. Yes, Equity Advocates PAC is now on Facebook. We have a beautiful commercial that we would love for you to share to help get Tamara Johnson-Shealy, our very first ADOS, elected into the U.S. Senate for Georgia. Scrolling down. Yes, thank you, Margaret, for being a moderator and typing in Mr. Avery Valentine's organization, Blacks Networking for Change, BN4C. And North Carolina ADOS has been renamed to, Triangle ADOS, okay? Triangle ADOS. ADOS likes data, fam. Thank you. Absolutely. Margaret says our ADOS vote does not count because of the structure of the Electoral College. Absolutely. That's what our guests share. Remember, family, to whom much is given, much is required. We must fight for the voiceless. We must use our voice in social media space for those of us who are on the bottom in this country. Like if you're privileged to be on this show, you at least have some source of a phone or a laptop or some type of internet. Far too many ADOS do not, and now they're falling further behind, given that this COVID and this pandemic has relegated us to our homes. It's really going to be sad. If you think we're dying disproportionately from COVID, you haven't seen anything yet when you see us become homeless due to being foreclosed on and losing our jobs. You guys know we're the last hired, first to be fired or laid off. We really need to use everything we've gotten. Everybody that's privileged to be able to have access to the internet needs to share and get in this movement any way that you can. Margaret says, I have said this for years. Black voters affect the primary but are ineffective during the general election. Okay, we've got to show up every 2 years, family. No more can we be politically lazy and not show up. We must do it. We must impact every primary. We need 100% of us strong. And this is the work, family, to get more ADOS on this square with us, to let America burn down to the ground. We must, or we're going to be the only ones in the history books as having perished due to the puckery of both parties. Yes, vote down, NLM. We can. With small numbers turning out, the Black vote can turn the tide. Voting down, not up. Yeah, family. We can definitely deliver that Congress. We need to deliver a Democratic Congress and leave it open at the top. And like I said, let them hug it out, fight it out, curse it out. I don't care. We've got to protect the over 42% of us that rely on government assistance by design of institutional systemic racism. Marcus says the country is as white as ever because Latinos are considered white unless they identify as Afro-Latino or Asian. It is a don't ask, don't tell policy with the Latin Hispanic vote. Absolutely. Absolutely. The Irish were made white in this country. The Jews were made white because whiteness in its European form can't have babies. So this is why they're willing to make other immigrant groups white. And of course, they're as silly and as ignorant as poor whites to think that being able to identify as white gives them privilege, even though they don't have any money. They don't have any real wealth position, but they claim to be white, and that does help whiteness in this country. And this is why you see that Latino vote split, just like you see the white vote split. Oh, Astra says, thank you for your charge. You're so welcome, my love. Oh, we go way back to our theater days. I just love me some her. I love all y'all, Black and Strong. Marcus says, neither party is for ADOS. We went to the DNC after the 63 March on Washington, but nothing changed for Black people because the Dixiecrats defected to the Republican Party, as the Republicans are now doing over in the Democratic Party. Did you see the Republicans who were able to speak at the DNC convention? Not any of the progressives. I think they gave AOC 60 seconds. Okay, so we're in a bad way, but no matter the outcome, family, we may not get the reparations during our lifetime, but we've got to do everything in our power to push, because there were many ancestors who put their lives on the line for our freedom. There were many ancestors who put their lives on the line for our civil rights. So this is our work. This is our new civil rights movement and moment. Economic equality. And we do not survive without it. So all hands on deck. It is what it is. So we have to push from all sides and do everything we can to be disruptors. That's our square. Parker says it's not just the boomers. There are a lot of people who never vote and are not held accountable for their inaction. We allow the Black political elite to sell us out every election. Margaret is right. It's not just the boomers. I don't mean to insinuate that. What I'm trying to suggest is that the boomers, by and large, benefited from affirmative action in a way that the Gen Xers and the millennials and the Gen Zs don't. The Gen Zs will not. That's what I'm suggesting. So many boomers, there are exceptions, and I'm grateful to the exceptions. I work alongside them. I border boomer. I'm a Gen Xer border boomer. So I understand, because I've been through what it's like down here to have had affirmative action revoked since 96. We are fighting this election cycle to get everybody to be yes on Prop 16. But there's a lot of pushback from the Asians who come from privilege, who come from money, who don't want us to have a foothold down here in California. Yes, African immigrants are 60,000 liquid to Asian Indian Kamala's people, $245,000 liquid, to white folks, $110,000 or $25,000 liquid, to ADOS, $200 liquid. So no, it's not just the boomers, but I'm telling you, affirmative action benefits white women first, immigrants second, and LGBTQIA third. We are last to be considered when it comes to affirmative action. They no longer have to hire us or give us scholarships to our HBCUs when they can fill the minority quotas with whites, immigrants, and LGBTQIA. So that's what I mean by the boomers who are sitting comfortably and by and large are not with the protest vote in the numbers that we are, given the woke boomers, given the woke Gen Xers, and given the woke millennials. Okay. I don't mean to throw all. It's never all. We've got some wonderful exceptions, and they're usually over here in the chat. And yes, we do have to vote, like our lives depend on it. We don't get an excuse to be politically lazy because we don't like both candidates. We're offering a protest vote as a solution to that. Gridlock government, shut it down so that the hemorrhaging will stop. We can continue to get the legislation together to get you your checks in the trillions over multi-generations. We need new legislation and or fix HR 40, which Mr. Valentine said is impossible. So we got to try everything, family. Our lives and that of our children are depending on us. Margaret says the fix has always been in. Lincoln, Teddy, FDR, Kennedy, LBJ, Carter, Clinton, and Obama all pulled the okie dokie on Black voters after we helped them get into office. Absolutely. She is absolutely right. And that's what we've been reading about all the way up and through Dwight D. Eisenhower in the book Prejudicial. This book goes all the way to Trump. And we will be reading again on Thursday. Tune in for more ADOS Hot Topics. We will be going over John F. Kennedy next. I think that's who's next after Eisenhower. Let's see here. Yep, John F. Kennedy and Lyndon Baines Johnson, honey. Get your libations, like Yvette says, for Thursday, okay? Let's see here. They've all done us in, and that's why we read Prejudicial, so that we can be well-informed and study what we must do. And another thing we must study is those conservatives. It is imperative that we know what they're doing. This is how we can strategize and make plans to overcome for our sake and that of our children. The South never stopped voting against ADOS from 1860 until the present, Margaret says. Margaret says Sheila Jackson Lee stepped into John Conyers' shoes. It was his idea, and he could not get it passed for 30 years. Nancy Pelosi is trying to keep her speaker's gavel. They're all pandering. It's a nothing burger as it stands. We've got to get it fixed. Yvette Carnell said it should have no paid representation. We did that one. Thank you, Debonair One. Thanks again to our illustrious guest, Mr. Avery Valentine. Easy Act says, I don't think there will ever be a president without the people being fully throated behind them. I don't really know what that means. Mr. Valentine just shared that we don't choose the president. The Electoral College does. Our votes really don't matter. He just showed it to us. No one is covering the young man who was killed by the police in Philly last night. Of course they aren't. Of course they aren't. Biden and Kamala want to win. So, of course, the media is helping them in those efforts. They're not going to talk about that, brother. We're going to have to talk about it in the social media spaces. Look up Black media. I will try to read up on it to give you guys some background, but I can no longer watch the videos since George Floyd 846. That still gives me nightmare, but anger gets ish done, okay? That has fueled me in a way like no other. As I pray, it has fueled you. But please take care of your mental family. Do not feast on these videos. They will mess you all the way up. Don't do it. The Dems got super exposed this election. The cat is out the bag. That's from In My Zone. Oh, yeah, the cat is out the bag. And, you know, they're pretending like it's not. But we're going to see after November 3rd how it all ends. I pray that I get my prayer answered. That we deliver a Republican top in a Democratic Progressive Congress. Henceforth, that needs to be the new normal. That's what I'm pushing for. Every show. We have to get ready for 2022 and 2024 and beyond. We cannot rest, family. She's absolutely right. That's Margaret McCall giving a lot of great feedback, as are the rest of you. It benefited white women more than any other group. She's right. Astra says, people are harassing others when they find out they will not vote Democratic here in Georgia. Friends are willing to lose friends, family, disowning family. It's sad if we don't think for ourselves. Darling, isn't it sad? You know, many people fire me. We need to get comfortable because we need to teach our children how to weaponize their vote and socialize their suffering, or they're finished. They will absolutely be finished, okay? We must teach our children to be very revolutionary. The revolution is being social mediaized. And I understand about family and friends firing me. It happened to me last election cycle. But if I am required to think like anyone, you're not a real friend to begin with. Or to vote like anyone, you're not a friend to begin with. We should all be free to exercise our right to vote the way we see fit. And sadly, the lesser of two evil two-step shuffle to our own peril is not, it hasn't caught on broadly enough. I don't really know what it's going to take for the majority of ADOS to get on this new wave, but I was reborn last election cycle. That is my square until they cut the check in the trillions over multi-generations. And if you need new family and friends, the ADOS movement, I have met some incredible people that think like me. And I'm so thankful to have you as my new family and friends. I love y'all black and strong. So Astra, join the movement if you're getting pushback because you're a free thinker. You know what you and your children need. And more of this is not it. Margaret says that Eisenhower was forced into desegregation. Like most things have to be forced. Our emancipation was forced. Our civil rights were forced. Reparations will have to be forced. It is what it is. And even once you get the repair, you got to make sure we don't make $5 ADOS of the white folks the way they were able to buy their Indian repair that they weren't owed, while the black Seminoles and black Cherokees sit without that reparations that was due them by right, by their civil rights. Okay, this was due them and they still haven't gotten paid. And the CBC still hasn't guaranteed they get their checks. But those white folks were sure able to buy reparations as $5 Indians. Hello, Elizabeth Warren. Marcus says Obama ancestors are Kenyan and from Kansas. He has a European mentality and an Asian heart. Absolutely. He's a black white supremacist. I said what I said. He descends from slave owners on his white mama's side, and his daddy is Kenyan. Okay? He is not ADOS, which is why he can say no to our repair and give the race soldiers a blue alert law over ensuring and fortifying black life while he was in office so that we don't continue to get annihilated by the race soldiers. We still have lynching. That anti-lynching law has still not been passed. Why couldn't he make anti-lynching a government, an executive order? If you could create 1 million white millionaires during your tenure while 43% of us lose our wealth, and I don't even know what percentage have lost our lives from the race soldiers, surely you could have done something with that anti-lynching. Surely you could have said yes to our reparations. Instead, you've got us pushing up a boulder, up a hill that's steep. It's straight up and down because of your no. They got the unmitigated gall as they're running for the presidency to tell us no. They don't even wait till they get elected to tell us no anymore. Tanya says, sis, they just skip over Gen Xers that bear the burdens of mass incarceration. Tanya Princess said that. Absolutely. The Bushes were responsible for the deconstruction of Brown v. Board of Education decision. School of choice started with Bush 41 and was completed under Bush 43. You better know it. Boy, that Margaret McCall is sharp. I. Welcome to the live. This thing is always jumping. Oh, I see Otis. Hey, Otis. I love me some Otis, honey. Yes, I do. That's a soldier. That's a real boomer. That is the exception. He's in this fight with us strong. Okay. Get those likes up, ADOS. Oh, thank you. Debonair one. Yes, let me get the likes up. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Share, because we need more people to get this information. The way they do that is when you give it a thumbs up and you share. Thank you. I never promote that as much as I need to. Thurgood Marshall was put on the Supreme Court because he kept winning cases that went before the Supreme Court. Putting Thurgood Marshall on the court neutralized him. Thank you, Margaret McCall. She's fired tonight. Well, that explains it. What is demographics of the Electoral College? I don't know if anybody can put that in the chat. I got to keep scrolling because I'm at an hour 36. We over time, but I wanted to read your comments because they're always so rich. Red states with blue districts and bottom caste blacks in the Black Belt South. Avery Valentine Sr., our guest, has spoken. Red states with blue districts and bottom caste blacks in the Black Belt South. Otis shared a link. Abby Albanino status. I'm too afraid to click on it, Otis, but I will do it after the show. Okay. Martin Norwood, thank you for joining the live. The Japanese got theirs in about 10 years. Of course, they're smaller. We need about 37 million repaired, but in the trillions. But as Tansy Flakes always reminds us, it's not our fault that it's in the trillions. You should have left well enough alone and gave us our 40 acres and a mule. We wouldn't be here. We'd be as wealthy as they are. If we had been left alone with our Black Wall Streets, they burned about 50 or 60 of those. So it's not our fault that it's in the trillions and you owe so many of us. Name of book and the author is Prejudential by Margaret Kimberly. You must own this book. It's a really easy read. As you saw, I just read that chapter. They're very short, but they're very succinct. Love this book. ADOS Chicago is here. Oh, I love y'all black and strong, Tanya Princess. Yes, I do. Okay, she says she loves me. I receive your love, family, and I return it a millionfold. Yes, I do. $5 ADOS. She's cracking up at that. 350K ADOS. Yes. Well, we're really working on like $1 million a piece. That's my number. That's on my altar. That's what I pray for. Each of us gets a check for $1 million. Hey, shoot for the stars. Land on the moon. Thanks for another good show. Oh, Kunta, thank you for joining the live. Click the bell, family, to get notifications. That's Faux ADOS TV is live. Oh, I just love you, Debonair One. Thank you for working as my mod. I don't even know how to make you a mod, but that's what you feel like to me. Otis says, duty, sis, we are hashtag built for this. Yes, we are, Otis. Oh, I love me some Otis. I miss you on YC's calls. He used to call in to Breaking Brown a lot. Where you been, Oh? I miss you. I love you. Black and strong. He always came with that fire. Miss that fire, Otis, but I see you in the Facebook sometime. Margaret McCall, the Electoral College is not about demographics. Most states do not award partial or shared electoral votes. If they win by 1 vote, they get all of the votes for that state. Woo-wee. I'll take a milli. Amen. Won't we all, family? That's what we're pushing for in the trillions over multi-generations. Hey, they could give us $250K a year till they make us square. I'm cool with that. No matter what, we might as well shoot for everything. Okay, we might as well. But with that said, family, we're at 1:40, an hour 40. I want to thank you for being the wind beneath my wings. Otis says, when your utility expires, you get fired. Hashtag onward. When your utility expires. When your use expires. Oh, no, we need you all. Your use will never expire over here at the Friends of ADOS TV. You're welcome here every time, all the time. So I don't really know what that means exactly, but all of you are the most useful. You are my co-host over here at the Friends of ADOS TV channel. I will be getting a way for you to call in so I can hear your voices. I can't give out my cell phone number, so I need a separate line, but I'm slow on this technology, family. I thank you for your patience. I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support of this show. Please visit Equity Advocates PAC. That's equityadvpac.com. Please visit TamaraforGeorgia.com. She needs 700 to keep her ads running in the South till November 3rd. Please join us in our protest vote. The woke boomers, Gen Xers, millennials, and Gen Zs are counting on us to be very revolutionary until they cut the check in the trillions over multi-generations. And just please continue to be the gods you are out here, right? I remind you every time as I put this covering on you of who you truly are. I want to remind you, family, because it gives me peace of mind to protect you, that the light of God surrounds you. The love of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you, and the presence of God watches over you. Wherever ADOS and its allies are, God truly is, because why, family? You know the drill. You know you are the face of God. You know you are the voice of God. You know you are the body temple of the Spirit of the living God. Don't you ever let anyone tell you otherwise. I love you guys, Black. I love you strong. Until Thursday, family, 6 o'clock, unless I have meetings. I'm in like 3 work groups and 6 subcommittees. It's a lot going on, family. But until Thursday, you guys make it a beautiful, God-inspired rest of your evening and next couple of days until we meet again. I love you, Black. I love you strong. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sharing, family. Ciao for now. Bye. Peace.